Good day, everyone. This is co-host John Schlarbaum, here to inform you that a new companion book to the podcast is now out. Titled Music Virgin No More, I delve deeper into how my weekly charts began and why the music from the early 80s still influences the preferences of millions of listeners 45 years later. Again, the book is Music Virgin No More, a fun and easy read filled with facts about the singles, albums, and groups you still love today. Purchase your copy on Amazon for only $15, and thanks for downloading today's episode, which begins right now.
CJBK London, it's 154.
Welcome, music fans, to the Music Virgins No More podcast. Now here are your hosts, John and Jason.
Hello, and welcome to the Music Virgins No More podcast. I'm John Schlarbaum.
And I'm Jason Kavanaugh.
For those new to the program, the show is based on my memories of top 40 music between 1980 and 1982, when between the tender ages of 13 and 16, I carefully curated 106 weekly music charts in my childhood bedroom in southwestern Ontario.
And just a reminder for anybody that's coming up late in the podcast, what's really interesting about that is in southwestern Ontario, you got a mixture of American content and Canadian content. So this is a really interesting point of view in West Lorne, Ontario. So last week we looked at November 1st, 1980, that chart. And today we review the following 3 weeks, starting with chart number 12 for November 8th, 1980.
Now, there was a lot happening this week, Jason, with the debut of 2 new singles and 2 new albums, along with a relatively new wave / punk trio who entered my group charts, who would dominate my life basically for the next 4 years and beyond.
Oh, I'm excited. I think I know who it might be, but we'll see. Okay, and the previous week's new songs, You Shook Me All Night Long, Switching to Glide, my new favorite, and Whip It, all moved upwards. Pat Benatar was hit with the curse of only getting to number 2, dropping a few spots, while Split End's catchy I Got You confidently took over the 3rd position. Now, with these new entries, the Monks' Drugs in My Pocket and Paul Simon's Late in the Evening, they were pushed out of the top 15.
Entering at number 9 this week was Cliff Richard's song called Dreaming. So like many other veteran UK artists, I really had no reference point of who Mr. Richard was, aside from his 1979 hit, We Don't Talk Anymore, that landed at number 18 on my year-end chart. So like to me, Jason, this guy is on a roll, having 2 big songs in 2 years. However, in his native land, he was merely continuing a winning streak that began in 1959 with his group, The Drifters. And at that time, he was initially billed as a rebellious rock and roller in the vein of Elvis Presley and Little Richard, and he would become the most successful British solo artist of all time. The thing about this is, if you've ever seen Cliff Richard, and it doesn't matter if it's 1959, 69, 79, 89, till today, at no point in time did I ever see him as a rebellious rock and roller, like ever. Very nice guy, though. Very popular singer. Now, Jason, on the UK's official singles charts, they made a list of the top 10 biggest selling male singles artists. That's a mouthful. And he is listed at number 2 with a combined total of 21.5 million singles sold, just behind, I'll give you 3 guesses, okay? Here are the 3 artists that he is just behind. One is Elton John, one is Michael Jackson, and one is Elvis Presley. Who do you think is the number 1 biggest selling male artist in the UK of all time? Elvis, MJ, or Elton John?
Cliff Richard's number 2? Oh, man.
Yes.
I'm going to say, this is UK, I'm going to say MJ.
You would be incorrect. So the biggest one And really, Cliff Richard at 21.5 million singles sold is not far behind Elvis Presley, who was at 21.7 million singles sold, followed by Michael Jackson at 15.5 million. So Cliff Richard is well ahead of Michael Jackson, and even further ahead of Elton John, which seems crazy, who has 15 million singles sold. I'm always surprised with Elton John how over here in North America in the 70s, he like blew everybody out of the water, number one albums all the time, all the time, all the time. And over in England, he was, oh yeah, we like Elton too. Like, it's just crazy when you look at his chart performance. I don't think he had a number one single until, I don't know, the mid 2000s with I think it was a song called Believe. And you think of his catalog, and that was the first song that ever hit number one over there. That's why charts are crazy.
Yeah, this list kind of blows my mind. I mean, Cliff Richard's only 200,000 behind Elvis, but 10 million more than Michael Jackson.
Right.
That's just mind-blowing to me.
He started much earlier, right? I mean, that's one thing. I mean, longevity, but then you look at Elvis. Elvis died when he was 42 in 1977. So, Elvis had they were buying a lot of singles over in the UK back then. And you can see that with the Beatles, they sold 2 million copies in the first week. You're like, wow, not streams. People physically leaving their houses with money in their hands to go to a store to buy a single. Those are 2 million people, not 2 million. Oh, somebody clicked on it and listened to it. Charts today are so suspect. You don't really know who's, aside from Taylor Swift, I have no idea who else is popular these days.
Oh, you forgot about Drake. Don't forget about Drake.
Oh, I can forget about Drake every single day of the year. Honestly, last night I was at work. I work at a hospital in Windsor as a patient transporter, and I overheard somebody say, yeah, my friend paid $800 to see Drake in concert. And the patient that I was pushing kind of laughed at that. And I said, I would pay $800 not to see Drake.
So would
I. So, like, to me, Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran, they've got the world in the palm of their hand. They could do no wrong. Good for them. But aside from that, everybody else is like just nameless to me.
And at this point in time, we're recording this episode, Taylor is on track to make $2 billion on this current tour she's on.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, I really don't know her music. And again, it's never been aimed at me. So all the best to her. I mean, it's just it's absolutely crazy how big that she is. And I think with her, she has been able to, over the last 10 years, keep her fan base where a lot of people, if you're a teeny bopper or a country star and, you get all the 13 and 16-year-old girls, in 10 years from now, those people, they've grown up, they have different lives, they have different viewpoints. And somehow she has been able to keep that fan base and keep it growing. And that's why she's going to be around, for like a long time. But, her fan base is growing with her. And she's realized that, and she's become a very smart businesswoman over time as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Okay, now back to the charts in 1980.
Speaking of big groups of the time just coming into their own.
Entering 2 spots down at number 11 was The Police Infectious Don't Stand So Close to Me, the first single off their third album, Zenyatta Mondatta. The September 1979 single, Message in a Bottle, had landed at number 18 on your year-end chart. And I'm sure, Roxanne, was a familiar tune to you as well?
There was a buzz about this band, and, this new record was really highly anticipated. And it just seemed to me that they had been deemed the true new wave leaders ready to take on and eclipse all comers, which essentially they did for a very brief period of time. Now, the album Zenyatta Mondatta, it debuted at number 8, a sort of lowly beginning for an album that would really dominate over the course of the subsequent weeks and months on my chart. And also the band entered at number 10 on the group's chart as I finally owned one of their albums, which was, one of the prerequisites to get on my special charts.
Okay, now we're about to talk about a band that you and I have seen together in like the 10th row, which was just awesome. I was surprised I didn't catch a guitar pick, but we'll get to that another time.
I got one of his guitar picks at another show later on. So I have one of Rick Nielsen's, special guitar picks, and one of yours, which, has a cool little picture. Did you draw the picture on your guitar pick?
That was an ex-girlfriend that drew that.
Got it. Maybe we'll put that up on the website. Pictures, of the two side by side. So those are the only two I have. I might have a Boston one though.
Okay, well, obviously, you mentioned the guitar player's name. We're talking about Cheap Trick, who debuted at number 5 on the albums chart with All Shook Up, the follow-up to their 2 monster 1979 albums at Budokan and Dream Police. In the time between these releases, you told me you'd purchased 2 of their previous LPs, In Color and Heaven Tonight, and loved everything about them.
Again, with those albums, they were some of the songs were on the Live at Budokan album that really broke them sort of in North America. People kind of knew them. But I like the songs, the live versions, and then In Color was the 1977, Heaven Tonight was 1978, and here we are a year later with, All Shook Up. And to me, at this point, the group could seemingly do no wrong, especially being produced by George Martin, who, he had a little band in the 60s called The Beatles that you might have heard of.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You were young and impressionable.
That I was, Jason.
Okay, so on to the week of November 15th, 1980. This is chart number 13.
On the singles chart, 2 momentous events happened. Number 1, AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long took over the number 1 spot from Queen's Another One Bites the Dust, which had been sitting there for the last 7 weeks. Now, that's the second longest run behind 2 other songs that stayed at number 1 8 straight weeks each. Now, also at number 12 was the debut of John Lennon's first new song in 5 years called Just Like Starting Over. And with this one, I just loved everything about it. There's like 3 little ting, 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 like a dinner bell to give it sort of that retro 1950s feel. And, Lennon deliberately attempted to sound like his musical heroes, which I think you will agree are probably your musical heroes as well. Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, Elvis Presley, and guess who?
I mean, judging by the glasses that John was wearing at the time, I would say probably Buddy. Yeah.
Buddy Holly. Yeah, Buddy. And I just found there's the album that the song comes from, Double Fantasy. I just found in the last month or so that there is, I don't know what it's called. If it's called, it's Stripped Down, like Double Fantasy Stripped Down. And it just has like some studio talk and everything. And if you find that on Spotify, Apple, Tidal, wherever you get your music, listen to it. And at the very start of it, you will hear John Lennon said, this one is for, Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, Elvis Presley, and Buddy Holly. It's very, very cool. And then the song kicks in with those 3 bells. So if you're looking for something a little different, there you have the Beatles' Let It Be Naked album out there that, Paul was a big proponent of years ago. But this is like a stripped down version of Double Fantasy with the John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Don't worry about the Yoko Ono songs. Nothing good can come from that. Stripped, deleted, maybe deleted. Maybe it should be, Double Fantasy, Yoko deleted. That would be a big seller, I think.
Be nice. Some people love Yoko's art with a capital A.
Now, with Just Like Starting Over, entering at number 12, it seems like a very low position. And I can only guess I purchased the 45 that has this very cool sleeve of John and Yoko on it, maybe at the very end of the week. And although there was no way of knowing it at the time, Jason, this song would be the last released during Lennon's lifetime.
But yeah, I guess we're in November 1980. It's we're a month away.
We are.
Wow.
Weeks.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll have to ask you the next time, your feelings on that. Devo's Whip It continues to climb to number 3, making it this week's fastest mover. The previous week's new songs also made a modest upward inroads with the Kings switching to glide, mysteriously beginning to glide downward in the rankings, unfortunately.
No idea.
With Lennon's new song, Eric Clapton's former number one, Cocaine, Tulsa Time, finally exited the chart after 10 weeks.
10 weeks. It should have been 20, right, Jason? I know you would have been, no, it would have moved the decimal point over to, to the left one, and it might have been 1 week charted and then disappeared. I don't think in all my 106 charts, I don't think I ever had a song that only charted for 1 week. I think maybe there's some that have only were there for like 3 weeks, and that was it. And I have a feeling that they may have been like album cuts. They're the fourth single from an album that I had already been done with, and I went, oh yeah, I'll put this on my chart. And then like 3 weeks later, I'm like, yeah, I don't need that anymore. So I'll have to look that up. What the shortest song is on here. Okay, so back to now the other major movement on the charts for this week was Cheap Trick's new release jumping into the number 2 spot. I almost said number 1. Oh my goodness, that would have been crazy. Jumping into the number 2 spot in its second week. And this was the first time since the debut of these listings that the Monks' Bad Habits didn't hold the runner-up position. So there's a little bit of change there. And the Police also moved up into the number 5 position with Zenyatta Mandata and wouldn't leave the top 5 for another 20 full weeks. And they have more astounding accomplishments coming. But 20 weeks, I mean, that's like another 5 months it stayed in my top 5. So obviously it just stayed with me for almost a half a year, just in my top 5, right? So now also on the groups chart, both Cheap Trick and the Police made gains, but it's interesting to note Australian or New Zealand newcomers Split Ends were still holding their own at number 4 with the strength of their still popular single, I've Got You, and very cool album, True Colors.
Okay, and also of note, in the singles chart breakdown, if you take a close look, there's 8 bands, 3 female singers, 2 spots held by the lovely Pat Benatar, and 4 male singers, with a third of the songs by new wave artists. I'm starting to sense a change in your tastes.
There must have been like something that I would just, again, I didn't go full blown new wave, but there, just from this, you can see that I was very open to, I think in another podcast or later on, like I discuss how I never got into punk because it just seemed like people were just screaming at me all the time, which I didn't like. But new wave was like an offshoot of the energy of punk, but I could understand the words and it was a lot cleaner sound. So yes, new wave was definitely, making its way into my life by November 1980.
And how could you avoid it, really? In 1980, you kind of couldn't.
Well, you couldn't. Like everything just becomes synthesizers, and some of it was good, and some of it was just, wow, that is so dated now. Like the interesting thing, again, I can look at any of these lists, 43 years later and look at these songs and go, I could basically play all these in my car today and not be ashamed that I know that I'm going to use your question. Like, what was I thinking at the time? Every once in a while we'll see a song on the charts where it's like, I don't know why I thought this was so cool, but I really did at the time. But looking at this week's charts or November 1980, all these songs, they were just good songs. Speaking of one more week, so up next we have chart number 14 for the week ending November 22nd, 1980. And a few things did occur.
Well, AC/DC and Devo, who both entered the singles chart 4 weeks earlier, held down the top 2 spots. Next were seasoned UK solo artists entering the top 5, and John Lennon getting the fastest moving arrow, jumping from 12 to 3, with Supertramp's short-lived 5-week run, Dreamer, and Pat Benatar's You Better Run, leaving the rankings. 2 new songs entered the charts.
Now, the first one enters at number 11, which was Leo Sayers' remake of More Than I Can Say, which was written by Sonny Curtis and Jerry Allison, who they were in another band, Jason. What band was that again?
They were in Buddy Holly and the Crickets. And just a quick side note, Sonny Curtis had some other songs in the 80s kicking around. He had I Fought the Law, which was originally hit the radio with the Bobby Fuller 4, and then later on in the 80s with the Dead Kennedys in the punk scene. And then he had this song. So Sonny Curtis was doing extremely well, at this point, taking in royalties for songs that he'd never released as singles himself. And then Jerry Allison, who was Buddy's drummer and one of my all-time favorite drummers. It was pretty neat for him to start making some royalties because he didn't get a ton of songwriting credits from his time with Buddy Holly.
Right. Yeah. And again, I didn't know this was a remake till I started doing research for the show. So like, I just thought it was Leo Sayer, more than I can say. But again, you can go onto YouTube or a streaming service, type in More Than I Can Say, and listen to the original versions of it, which aren't really that much different. It's just it's an updated sort of cleaner sound, and with Leo's sort of specific way of singing and his voice and everything that just makes it a little different, or a little more upbeat, I guess. Now, remember we were talking earlier about Cliff Richards? I wasn't very knowledgeable about UK artists, Jason.
Yeah.
well, you could add Mr. Sayer to the list. Now, his music career started in 1973, and he had a considerable success in both the UK and North America, hitting his peak in 1977 with a massive disco hit called You Make Me Feel Like Dancing, which... honestly, everybody knows that as much as Dancing Queen, I think.
I was going to say, even I knew that one.
Now, we also had this very cool, it was almost like a novelty smash. It was called Long Tall Glasses, and then in brackets, I Can Dance. And for years, I always thought the title was I Can Dance. And the song is like, I can dance, I can dance. And it's just like this funny little song. But the fact that I didn't know the artist... in 1976, we've got no internet. So, I mean, it would come on the radio, but I didn't know the artist. I didn't know the correct song name, the Shazam music identifier app still to be conceived in, 2002. My search at numerous record stores was hampered considerably for years and years until somehow I realized that the song was called Long Tall Glasses. Everybody look up that song. It's just a funny song.
I can't believe Shazam is 21 years old.
That's what I found out. I'm like, I wouldn't think it's that old, but I wonder if it was one of those things where it's like it was out there for a long time and no one really knew it. And then, once cell phones and everything, apps sort of, became something. You're like, oh, we can do that now. Right. So it was like it invented years ago, but only became sort of into its own when you have the technology that everybody can have it at at their fingertips, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to do some more research into this. That's really neat.
Okay.
All right, back to the podcast. Diana Ross made her second appearance on your charts with I'm Coming Out, debuting at number 13, which is a huge song.
It really is.
Yeah, and that came up just behind Upside Down. That was moving down, of course, although it was still the longest charting single at 12 weeks and had a few more weeks left in the tank.
Now, on the album chart, the Police garnered the fastest mover designation, even though Zenyatta Monada only moved up one spot to number 4. Now, they also had the fastest mover arrow on the groups chart, and it was only for like a 2-spot jump, but really seemed deserving after they hopped ahead of longtime favorites, the Cars, and the former number 1 group, when we started the charts, of Paul McCartney and Wings. So they were on the move. The Police had arrived. Now, Jason, looking closely at the singles, groups, and albums charts, basically not just for this week, but I mean for the last 3 weeks. November actually had 5 weeks to have charts, so I was busy. Jason, I had an extra week of oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't really. It's every week I had a chart. Now, when you look closely at these charts, Jason, what do they have in common?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of great songs.
Yep. Correct. Yep.
Queen is still in there, but I'm going to take a stab and say Bruce Springsteen has yet to appear on any of them.
You are correct.
Okay, but that's going to change soon, right?
I think maybe next week, chart number 15. Now, after that skill testing question that I gave you, it's time for you to ask me your favorite question, which is,
What were you thinking, John?
what was I thinking about what?
Oh, I'm gonna say let's go with the Police this time.
Okay, are you a fan of the Police or not a fan of the Police?
That's a good question. Like, no, I would say I'm not a fan. There's a couple of songs that are that are cool. They've got some really cool sounds and vibes, but I just like you're talking about people yelling at you. You know, Sting yelling Roxanne at me every 20 seconds. I don't know. What were you thinking, John?
To me, the Police, I didn't own their first two albums, which would have contained Message in a Bottle and Roxanne. But the third album, Don't Stand So Close to Me, I love that song. And then in a few weeks from now, they end up releasing Da Do 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 Da 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 Da. I think I got that right. And for whatever reason, like the album just stayed with me. Like I liked the music. It was different. It wasn't punk. It was new wave. But like years and years, later, when you start re-listening to Zenyatta Madada, Ghost in the Machine, and even Synchronicity, which is their big album, which is their fifth album, and then they're gone. Like they're gone after five albums, and the first two albums, really, for the most part, people don't really know about, even at the time of their fame in the early '80s. But to me, when I listened to those albums, I'm like, they were like a great singles band. If you got the Police's greatest singles, you got most of what they were. There are a bunch of other album tracks which are, that are really good, but when you listen to them one right after another, they're almost like a jazz punk new wave fusion band. That the quality of the songs is fantastic. They sound good. All three musicians are amazing. But if you just got their greatest hits, you're fine. You got lots of, you can have like 20 songs that everybody knows. But with these albums, I just, again, with Zenyatta Mandata, I mean, it keeps going and going and going. And I guess at the time it was like, this is the new thing. And I really like them. So with them, I mean, I followed them up to Synchronicity. And then, like I said, they were gone. I followed Sting for maybe the first couple solo albums, and then I don't know, he just sort of fell off my radar. But he's still out there. I got a notification from Spotify saying that I could go see a Sting concert later this year. I'm like, I'm not going to, but good for him.
Okay, well, maybe if you make me a best of the Police, as long as you leave Roxanne off the playlist, maybe I'll change my position like I have with other groups. I mean, you've turned me into quite a Pretenders fan, for example.
And again, the Pretenders here in 2023 are about to release a brand new album. So, they're still out there. Well, Chrissie Hynde is still out there.
And she's 73 and still rocking her Telecaster at festivals all summer long.
She is.
She's amazing. Yep.
She really is. So yeah, so the Police, they're going to be around for the next few years, definitely. So Jason, I'm going to bring it back to you. What songs were you most fond of during this epic 3-week overview, or what songs are really catching sort of your attention? It doesn't matter if it's a new song, if it's has become a classic song.
Well, if you had asked me this question before our previous episode, I, immediately would have said either Hit Me With Your Best Shot. I mean, that's, Pat's, everybody knows that song.
Right.
Neil Giraldo's guitar playing is just on fire. Or I would have said another one by Seduced by Queen. I mean, John Deacon's bass line, I mean, that's been sampled and covered and reworked. I mean, those two songs are just massive and I adore them. But last week, you introduced me to Switchin' to Glide by Canadian band The Kings, and I have been listening to it quite a bit since we last chatted, and it's stuck in my head. So I'm gonna vote that one.
And again, with Switching to Glide from last week thing is, it's really two songs. It's This Beat Goes On / Switching to Glide, and it wasn't until re-listening to it, heading to work like a week or so ago. And I texted you this, that I didn't realize that This beat goes on is actually longer in actual, timing than Switching to Glide is. I always thought This Beat Goes On was sort of, a 1 or 2 minute, setup that then segues beautifully into Switching to Glide. But apparently it's the other way around. And one thing we did, I think you and I cleared up, was last week I was saying that I didn't know who came up with the idea to segue the two things. And I did some more research, and it was the band itself. We're jamming and we're rehearsing, and they just put these two songs together, and it just works. So those are the first two songs on their album, This Is the Kings, again, which you can stream anywhere and find out what all the excitement was and is about. And again, they're out touring today. So that concludes our review of charts number 12, 13, and 14 for the 3 middle weeks of November 1980. Now be sure to follow and like our Facebook and Instagram pages, where you'll find relevant pictures, information, and of course, my actual typewritten charts to review and debate amongst yourselves, family, and friends. Also, I'll have to remember to put the guitar picks up there for everybody to see and admire.
I can't wait to see that. I don't have that guitar pick, but you do. It was a long time ago, John.
It was. How you don't have it? I mean, they get lost so easily, though, don't they?
Yeah, well, I play my guitars, John.
Ooh, that was a shot.
That was a shot. All right. Well, feel free to give us your comments about the show and leave comments about the songs you loved in the early 1980s. And feel free to ask what you were thinking to John about some songs that were questionable, that you find questionable about his taste. We'd love to hear from you.
And be sure to check us out next week when we conclude our review of November 1980, when a certain Mr. Bruce Springsteen finally arrives on my bedroom turntable. Until then, keep rocking like there's no tomorrow, and thanks for listening.
The Music Virgins No More podcast was recorded in Amherstburg, Ontario, and Lloydminster, Alberta.